ॐ नमः पुरस्तादत पृष्ठतस्ते नमोऽस्तु ते सर्वत एव सर्व अनन्तवीर्यामितविक्रमस्त्वं सर्वं समाप्नोषि ततोऽसि सर्वः न न त्वत्समोऽस्त्यभ्यधिकः कुतोऽन्यः लोकत्रयेऽप्यप्रतिमप्रभाव तस्मात् प्रणम्य प्रणिधाय कायं प्रसादये त्वामहमीशमीड्यम्। श्री कृष्ण शरणं मम। We are set to see those verses where Bhagavan Shri Krishna shows his Vishwarupa, and to begin with, it is Sanjaya who describes. Sanjaya says to Dhritarashtra, and through Dhritarashtra, he lets all of us know what a grand spectacle it was. In the last class, we went up to the 8th verse, where in the 8th verse, Sri Krishna says to Arjuna, you won't be able to behold the cosmic form with your normal eyes. I give you divine vision, divine eyes. Divyam dadami te chakshuhu pashyame yogamaishwaram, says Bhagavan Shri Krishna. That's how we pick up today from the 9th verse of this 11th chapter. I suggest, as you study this 11th chapter and go over these verses describing Vishwarupa of Bhagavan Shri Krishna, of Mahavishnu, try to visualize you too are on the battle. Sanjaya, the advisor, and I guess he was a charioteer, and here he is the one who acted as the media or the medium. He was the medium for Dhritarashtra to appreciate the Vishwarupa of Bhagavan Vishnu. Sanjaya uvacha eva muktva tato rajan mahayogeshwaro harihi darshayamasa parthaya paramam rupamaishwaram anekavaktranayam अनेकाद्भुतदर्शनम् अनेकदिव्याभरणम् दिव्यानेकोद्यतायुधम्. Sanjaya says, how blessed Sanjaya was. The divine vision was offered to Dhritarashtra himself by sage Vedavyasa, but Dhritarashtra, fickle-minded as he was, lacking in true self-confidence, suffering from multiple mental complexes, inconsistent in his behavior, wanting sometimes to be on the path of dharma and nothing else, and next moment indulging in an adharmic choice, decision. This Dhritarashtra says, oh, I may not be able to see that cosmic form. I'm afraid. I may not be able to have the courage to look at all that. He hesitates. That is how the golden opportunity of seeing Vishwarupa comes to Sanjaya. and then Sanjaya narrates. So therefore we have Sanjaya Uvacha. And as we read the shloka, Eva Muktva, Sanjaya says to Dhritarashtra, Rajan. Rajan is the Sambodhana Vibhakti. Rajan Shabda it is. And Raja, Rajano, Rajanaha, Rajanam, Rajano, Rajnaha. Like that. When you address a king in Sanskrit, it is Rajan. In South India, Raman, Krishnan, Rajan is common, especially in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. So they may feel extra happy here. Oh, Sanjaya spoke Tamil that day. Rajan. In Kannada, it becomes Raja. No an. In Telugu, you sometimes add Rajulu, Rajudu, and so on. Let me not go into language and its related topics, but I'm fond of noticing that Raman of Deep South becomes Rama when it comes to Andhra and Telugu, Karnataka, Telangana. Then North India, it is that Raj. There is no A at all. There is no Swara at the end. Just Ram. Ram. And Govind. So they make it Halanta. And those who are used to Govind feel a bit odd when they hear Govinda. And those who are used to Govinda feel a little odd. Why is it just Govind? Why not Govinda? All these conditionings. These are conditionings. There was and is a controversy, especially in certain North Indian areas. Why do we call yoga as yoga? They think we are, so in South it's called yoga. Nobody makes it yoga, but it sounds like But the South Indians are fond of calling the calling that science yoga. In North, yoga, Raj Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Gyan Yoga. So South it is yoga. And yes, sometimes when you say it sounds as though it is yoga long. Somebody wrote a long article, I had to edit it once. And the title itself was, It is not yoga, it is yoga. So that person, well-meaning of course, must have been a good scholar otherwise, but heavily conditioned by the North Indian usage and unaware how in the South, very good scholars, very good grammarians, those who know the original Sanskrit word, they also use the word yoga. Akaranta, it's not akaranta. So in modern times, to conclude that diversion, you and I should have the broad-mindedness to accept yoga or yoga, Ravindra or Robindra, Purushottam, or in Punjab it becomes Purushottam. Don't find fault with slight change of letters or syllables or pronunciation. All these have an original Sanskrit word, but in different regions, they get a bit of a tilt towards this way or that way. Rajan, O king, O emperor, says Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra, and says, having said these words, the previous few verses were by Sri Krishna, having said this, Hari, who is called Maha Yogeshwara. Yogeshwara itself means the master, the lord of all yogas, and then the adjective Maha. Maha Yogeshwara. As you know it well, the entire Bhagavad Geetā concludes with a verse where Sri Krishna is called Yogeshwara. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha, Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutir, Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Is the last shloka. in the mouth of Sanjaya. Sanjaya says, where Yogeshwara Krishna and Dhanurdhara Partha are together, there will be prosperity, there will be success. Another beautiful hint at how the combination of human and divine intelligence works the best. The two birds on the same tree are a very pervasive metaphor. It has tremendous scope in so many aspects. Two birds on the same tree, Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakhaya. And those two birds over here are Arjuna and Sri Krishna, Nara and Narayana, and the yogic sadhak and Yogeshwara. Darshayamasa. Sometimes the choice of the particular kind of past tense. Adarshayat also is correct, and there must have been one aorist past also. But of the three past tenses, Vyasa chooses here to put the word which is called past perfect. Darshayamasa is he showed. If it were Dadarsha, it means he saw. But it is here Sri Krishna who showed. Sri Krishna showed Paramam Rupam, the supreme form, Aishwaram, which is lordly, godly, or which is of the supreme ruler. Ishvara comes from the verbal root ish, to rule, to govern, to have things under one's control. And then you have Isha. Before even Isha, which is like Rama Shabda, Isha, 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 you have eat, Isha, Isha. That's how the Upanishad, Ishavasya Upanishad begins with the third case of the word eat. Isha. The word may be ish, but first case eat. So Isha means Ishwarena. Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam. We hear. Aishwaram Rupam Darshayamasa. In this chapter, on some of these verses, Adi Shankara is very brief, for there is not much of hidden philosophy here. Though they have a philosophical message to convey, it is rather explicit. Anyone can see. The great master of yogas, Hari, Mahavishnu, showed his supreme divine form. Shankaracharya writes, Evam yatokta prakarena uktva, having said that he is indeed happy to show the cosmic form, for in the first four verses it was the request of Arjuna, then fifth verse to eighth verse, that means in the following four verses, Sri Krishna gladly blesses Arjuna and says, I will show you, and for you to see that form, I will give you divine vision. Thus, Shankaracharya writes, Uktva, having said that way. Tataha means anantaram. Antara is gap. Anantara means without giving a gap. Soon after, right away. Rajan Dhritarashtra, it is Sambodhana. Mahayogeshwara means Mahanscha asau Yogeshwarascha. Karmadharaya samasa. Karmadharaya is sometimes called Pratama Tatpurusha. Tatpurusha samasa as the first word going to second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or even seventh case. But if the first word Purva Pada were to go to for Pratama Vibhakti, then that is called Karmadharaya. So what is Karmadharaya? For even those who don't know much about these Vibhakti cases, declensions, Mahan and Yogeshwara both are on par here, grammatically. Whereas suppose you have Rajaputraha, that is Shashti Tatpurusha. Raja goes in the explanation of that compound of the king, son of the king, Rajnaha Putraha, Pandu Putraha, the son of Pandu. So Pandu goes to of Pandu. That is his case. Whereas here, he is Yogeshwara and he is Mahan. Both are, we call it, Samana Adhikarana. Samana Adhikarana. Mahanscha sau Yogeshwarascha Harihi Narayana. Most appropriately, Bhashyakara calls Sri Krishna here Sriman Narayana. Darshayamasa, Darshitavan, Parthaya, Prithasutaya. The word Partha appears at several places in the Bhagavad Gita, and here the meaning is given Pritha Sutaha. Pritha Sutaha Shashti Tatpurusha. Prithayaha Sutaha, son of Pritha. Son of Pritha. Pritha is another name of Kunti. Partha, Arjuna, son of Kunti, Paramam Rupam, for him the supreme form was shown. And the second verse we read, number 10 in the chapter, Aneka Vaktranayanam. What kind of Rupam was it? It had Aneka, countless mouths, or Vaktra can mean face, countless faces, countless eyes. Aneka Adbhuta Darshanam, countless magnificent, unbelievably splendid forms. Aneka Divya Abharanam, and dazzling ornaments, gold, various precious stones. The cosmic form was bedecked with all of them. Divya Aneka Udyata Ayudham. Udyata, this cosmic form at places had weapons held high in their hands, in its hands, and which are divine. Udyata Ayudham. Acharya Shankara himself illustrates a little bit. Aneka Vaktra Nayanam, Anekani Vaktrani Nayanani cha Yasmin Rupe. Tat Aneka Vaktra Nayanam. That cosmic form in which there were Aneka, innumerable faces, Nayanani, eyes, and Aneka Adbhuta Darshanam, having such wondrous, amazing spectacles. Anekani Adbhutani, Bhashyakara gives an explanatory word for Adbhuta. He said wonderful, and he uses the word Vismapakani. Vismapakani means, you know the word Vismaya. Vismaya means astonishment. Ah, I didn't expect this. Oh my God, this cannot believe. Vismaya means astonishment. When you exclaim how great this is. So, Vismaya Karakani. Vismapakani is an adjective which involves the causal form of Vismaya. Vismaya, causing wonder, causing amazement. Vismapakani darshanani yasmin rupe tad anekadbhuta darshanam tata aneka divya bharanam. Anekani divyani abharanani yasmin tad aneka divya bharanam. It is that form in which or upon which were found countless divine shining ornaments. Aneka udyatayudham, divyani anekani, asi adini. Asyadini, asi is khadga, asi is a sword. So, sword and various other kinds of weapons. Asyadini, udyatani, were held high. somebody holding it up. Yasmin tad divyanek odyatayudham darshayamase iti purvena sambandha. The verb for this whole shloka, 10th shloka, is found in the 9th one, previous shloka. Sri Krishna showed such a magnificent form. That is the meaning. We now read the verses 11 and 12. Divya malyambaradharam divya gandhanulepanam sarvascharyamayam devam anantam vishvato mukham. Divya malyambaradharam. That's how 11 and 12th also goes. That's the famous shloka Robert Oppenheimer remembered when the experiment of causing the explosion of the first atom bomb. So, we mentioned it in the introduction. Divi Surya Sahasrasya Bhavet Yugapad Uttitha Yadi Bhasadrishi Sa Syad Bhasastasya Mahatmanah. So let's see both these verses, 11 and 12. Divya Malyambaradharam. Earlier ornaments were mentioned, now garlands. Many kinds of garlands, all of which were divine. Divya Gandha Anulepanam. Gandha is fragrance for various cosmetics, various forms of things that you smear upon the body, and the fragrance was divine. In the previous compound, not only malya, which is garland, ambara means various clothes, divine clothes, unbelievable attire, all kinds of dresses were seen in that cosmic form. Sarva Ascharyamayam. You think of it, and that kind of things that cause wonder were seen. Anantam, simply put, this cosmic form had no end, no limits, no bound. Devam Anantam Vishwato Mukham, Sarvato Mukham. It had all aspects. It was facing in all directions. That kind of meaning can be attached to the word Mukham. Bhashyakara says Divya Malya Ambaradaram means Divyani Malyani. Malya can mean Pushpani, all kinds of flowers. Ambarani means Vastrani, that is clothes. Dhriyante yena Ishwarena tam Divya Malya Ambaradharam. Dhara means holding, wearing, having upon him. What does Divya Gandhanulepanam mean? Divyam Gandhanulepanam Yasya tam Divya Gandhanulepanam. Well, one who has upon his body various kinds of perfumes and fragrant materials smeared, and thus that Vishwarupa was delightful not just to the eyes, to the ears, to the nose. All the indriyas, mind and intellect, were all taken to a higher level of aesthetic appreciation. And then we have Sarvascharyamayam, Sarvascharyaprayam Devam. Mayam or Prayam, all of them mean it consisted of, it had abundance of, abundant amount of surprises, astonishment. Anantam na asya antaha stiti anantaha. That which has no boundaries. Vishwato mukham, sarvato mukham. How? Why is it sarvato mukha? Sarva bhutatma bhutatvat. Vishnu is the very soul, very self, very inner truth of all living beings in the universe. Other day when I spoke to a bunch of teachers from various colleges who had gathered In India, we have University Grants Commission, and they have various schemes and programs. Continued teacher education, teachers of colleges, universities need to update themselves periodically. For that, programs are held. One college in New Delhi took the job of coordinating it all. It's a university by itself, Sri Lal Bahadur Shastri National Sanskrit University, and they had a 12 days program. So in one of the lectures, I have to talk about the 10 major Upanishads. Over there, when I said that Advaita Vedanta says Brahman alone is the truth, though initially we make a division, Chetana and Jada, sentient and inert. In higher wisdom, there is nothing called Jada. Even a hill is sentient, even a river has life, stones, tables, chairs, everything has life. Later in the question answer session, one of the senior teachers, it seemed, who was quite well versed otherwise in modern subjects, asked me a question. You say even a hill has life. Like science has various methods of experimenting, finding a result, repeat the experiment, find the result again, and then confirm that this is truth. So, experiment, inform, prove, there are certain steps, right? And then he used the word for what you say that a hill also is spirit itself. In our present erroneous perception, it looks inert. It's a problem of seeing. In right seeing, there is Brahma and Brahma only. He used the word then. What is the authenticity of such an understanding? In science, we have tools, we have methods. In my laboratory, things are tested and verified. I said to him, look, obviously, in the last 30 or 40 years, you would have studied thousands and thousands of pages of your subjects, maybe science, maybe economics, maybe history. You would have, starting from first standard in primary school, under the so-called Western education, you have studied numerous subjects and spent thousands and thousands of hours on all this. If you spend even 1/100th of that time and that energy on studying our scriptures, have patience, go to a competent teacher and study what is Shankaracharya's Advaita Vedanta. And also, you are asking for evidence, you are asking for authenticity. Study the lives of certain enlightened masters. Read carefully. The most popular book, The Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahamsa Yogananda. Don't read 10 pages and put it aside. This is all superstition. Don't say that. Read carefully. Over a length of time, has so many evidences, so many case studies, so many incidences, so many incidents, examples, etc. come to your knowledge. You know that all that has been recorded, reported, eyewitnessed, then you will not say, this is just mere imagination. And I gave a couple of examples. When a gathering was around Sri Ramakrishna, and a young boy from College of Kolkata walked in front of all, Sri Ramakrishna said, this boy will one day become very famous. If Keshav Chandra Sen, a very well-known figure those days in Bengal, has one unit of greatness in him, this boy who has now entered this room has some 10 times or so, he says. Everybody thought this old man is going crazy. They thought of Sri Ramakrishna as a half crazy guy. But history had it. That boy was no other than Vivekananda. What is the authenticity of hidden powers, extraordinary powers? Not only in the context or domain of traditional religions, but even among organizations or people who are a little away from tradition. So you find in the Theosophical Society's tradition, an 11-year-old boy, very simple looking, not at all rich or educated or anything special about him, along with a few other boys, was playing by the Bay of Bengal, the ocean near Chennai. And C.W. Leadbeater, with certain special powers, notices a particular boy. And Leadbeater writes in his diary, I saw a boy today playing behind the Theosophical Society's campus. And I am convinced, seeing the halo around his face. We see normally dark skin or fair skin, how big the nose is, what the features are. But Leadbeater saw the halo around Jiddu Krishnamurti's face. And Annie Besant came to know about this. Both of them then studied J. Krishnamurti, looking at him carefully, and they predicted he would be a world-renowned teacher. And he did become, though he took a tangential diversion from what they wanted to see him as, he did become a highly regarded spiritual teacher in the 20th century. So you find, that's what I meant while answering that gentleman, that if you note down, so many instances, you will be finding that religion, spirituality has its own, like scientific basis. It's not unscientific. It has its own methods. It has its own ways of verifying. Repeated confirmation. You do get many instances. This Leadbeater and Annie Besant were meditators, and through their special powers, they even wrote a book. It is called Occult Chemistry. The book is available. Occult Chemistry. They were not students of chemistry. They did not go to laboratories and use some advanced microscopes or some other experimental methods, but through their occult powers, they actually wrote about the molecular structure of water and the atomic structure of hydrogen, oxygen, etc. That book was published. And later on, when the regular science, physics or chemistry, found out these atomic structures and molecular structures of several compounds of which these two wrote, there was a tremendous amount of similarity. 80%, some of them were 100% true. So the same way in the 12th century, 10th century, Ramanujacharya gave a kind of a map of the entire earth. And much later, when the continents, Asia and Europe and Americas, were all delineated by cartographers, those who made maps, there is a striking resemblance. And how Sri Ramanujacharya found the approximate map of the earth, the seas, the continents, and so on. That picture also is available on Google. Actually, when you see the picture, it looks like some cat chasing a mouse or something, or two cats. And you wonder, this is a map of globe? Oh, this is ridiculous. Oh, wait a minute. Turn that 180-degree around. Then you find, oh, yeah. This roughly looks like the African continent. This roughly looks like Asia with India, the Indian peninsula penetrating into the Indian Ocean. And over there are two pieces looking like two vegetables. Oh, that resembles North America and South America. Oh my! How did Sri Ramanujacharya, using what instruments, what equipment, what how did he come upon? This is called way of mysticism. Therefore, coming back, Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatvat. God is in every atom of a hill, which is in ordinary eyes inert, jada. There is nothing jada actually. The entire universe is Chinmaya Swarupa. It is Chetana only. Therefore, Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam. Therefore, Chandogya Upanishad says, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Sarvam, everything is Brahma only. But we, on a lower level of consciousness, where error creeps in that erroneous perception, we see divisions, differences, which may have their own charm, that's fine. But the higher truth is the undivided whole, Chaitanya Matram, Chetana Matram, Darshayamasa Arjuno Dadarsha Itiva Adhyahriyate. So Adhyahara, Sri Krishna showed it or Arjuna saw it. These are implied, though the shloka doesn't say it. And the 12th verse, which I said Oppenheimer thought of and shared with his colleagues, Shankara connects it by writing a line before the 12th verse. Ya punaha bhagavataha vishwarupasya bhaha. Bhaha also means light, radiance, splendor, effulgence, kanti, and bhasaha also is a word with those meanings. Baha becomes baha, basa, ubasaha, basa, basam, basaha, like that. Bhasa is third case. But this bhasaha shabda is like Rama shabda. Everyone learns that first. Rama, Rama, Ramam, Raman, Ramena, Ramabhyam, Ramaihi, like that. So basa, basam, basan, basena, basabhyam, basaihi, it goes like that. So you'll find in this shloka, I'm saying this not without reason, both the words bhaha and bhasaha are used. Divi Surya Sahasrasya Yugapat. Yugapat means at one instance, one instant, that same moment, Yugapat, together. Suppose you have 8 or 10 marbles in your hand. You have option 1, drop one marble at a time on the ground. 1, 2, 3, like that. Or second option is all those 8 or 10 at one go, drop them on the earth, on the ground. That is Yugapat. Badari Mushti Prahara Vattu, Praharana Vattu, that is somewhere Shankaracharya says. Badara Mushti means Mushti is hand, in your clutches. Badara, some seeds or some little fruits, all of them you hold. Badara Mushti. And you drop all of them together. So that comes somewhere else in the context of whether God created everything at one go, or like in Christian tradition, they believe God created everything in 6 days and rested on the 7th day. In the Hindu Puranas, Both versions are available. At places it is said, he created everything at one go. At other places, one after another. As you know, in Taittiriya Upanishad, you have space came first, and from space came air, from air came fire, from fire came water, and from water came the earth. Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala, Prithvi, they came one after another. So somewhere else, all came together. Anyway, Yugapat, I am explaining the word Yugapat. At one instant, suppose 1,000 suns were to rise. Uttita. Surya Sahasrasya Yugapat Uttita Bhavet. Uttita is Utthanam. Rising, suppose Bhavet happens. Then Yadi, if it is so, Sadrishi, Yadi Bhaha Sadrishi Sa Syat. This Vishwarupa has such brilliance in it, and this brilliance, this amount of light, Sadrishi Syat. Bhaha is the light of those 1,000 suns rising. Then you have the word Bhasaha. Bhasaha is the light of this Mahatma who came. Mahatma is Sri Krishna, who appeared as the Vishwarupa. So, Divisu Surya Sahasrasya Bhaha and Sri Krishnasya Bhasaha. These two, Syat. Syat is a possibility. Maybe it would be equal. As we will see in Shankara's commentary, it is written, or maybe not. That means even the light of 1,000 suns would not equal. That would fall short. It would be less than the brilliance of Sri Krishna's Vishwarupa. So, Bhasaha Sadrishi Syat. Maybe. Could be. Bhashyakara says, Divi can mean Antariksha, interspace. We have earth, we have heaven. In between, there is the interspace. So, this early morning I was reading an article by some European scholar on Sankhya Yoga, or not Sankhya Yoga, Sankhya Shastra. And over there he talks of the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Sankhya talks about the three gunas. Sankhya talks about Purusha and Pradhana. Pradhana broadly, is same as Prakriti. Purusha and Prakriti. And what is Prakriti? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. And interestingly, this Richard Smalls, I think, some Joshi ji in Chicago shared it with me. All right. Over there, European scholars studying Sankhya Shastra of India wonder, and they have studied various schools of thought around the world. So he connects Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas to, in Christianity, you have Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. And then he mentions in some Chinese wisdom. In Chinese wisdom, you have the heaven, the earth, and the man, you and I. The man who connects the heaven and the earth. I believe there is some philosophy. I was very amused. Then this Western scholar makes references to Purusha Sukta. Then finally says Advaita Vedanta differs from Sankhya in as much as Sankhya forever maintains the division between Purusha and Prakriti. Whereas Advaita Vedanta says, as your understanding rises to the highest level, in the clearest error-free perception, there is no Prakriti at all, no Jagat. What I said a while ago, Richard Smalls also, maybe he is a professor at some college in the Chicago area, maybe a good friend of Dhananjay Joshi, who also teaches at some university there. So, interestingly, heaven, earth, and man is the connection. connection between heaven and earth. And Sattva, Rajas, Tamas in some way connect to these three. And some recent mystics like Gurdjieff, there was a mystic called Gurdjieff. So Gurdjieff's teachings also have certain ternary meaning threefold classification of factors. And they also go together, go in parallel with Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, says the Western scholar. What made me say this is here you have Shankaracharya saying Divi could be the interspace between heaven and earth. Or he himself says Tritiyasyam va Divi. You have Bhuh, Bhuvaha, Suvaha. Suvaha is the third, Swarga. Bhuh, the earth, Bhuvaha, the interspace, and Suvaha or Swaha, both are same. Therefore, Swarga, Suvarga are the same. Bhuh, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, Mahajana, Tapaha, Satyam. 7 words are talked about. So take it as the Bhuvaha, interspace, Antariksham, or Swaha, Tritiyasyam Vadivi. Imagine 1000 suns, Suryanam Sahasram, Surya Sahasram, Tasya, or Tasya Yugapad Uttitasya. If the 1000 suns were to arise at one moment, Surya Sahasrasya Ya Yugapad Uttita Bhaha, that kind of radiance, that kind of brilliance. Sa yadi sadrishi sat, tasya mahatmana vishwarupasya bhasaha. So mahatmana Shri Krishnasya vishwarupasya bhasaha sadrishi syat. It could be comparable. It could be very, very much alike. Then Bhashyakara adds, Yadiva na syat. Maybe even the light of 1000 suns would not be equal to the light of Vishwarupa. Vishwarupa's light is even higher. Tataha Vishwarupasya Bhaha Tirichyate Ityabhiprayaha. The Bhaha or Bhasaha of Vishwarupa Atirichyate could be even more. Thus, the report of Sanjaya already gives a wonderful introduction, a rough idea of what that Vishwarupa is. Sanjaya has 2 more verses to say, and then it is after that you have Arjuna speaking. Arjuna expresses his joy, his astonishment, his excitement, his state of mind. He expresses beginning with 15. So 13 and 14 are also by Sanjaya, which we shall take up in the next class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.